today I will be sharing with you how I had a stroke, my personal experience. And mind you, stroke happens differently for different people. Every experience is different and unique. To my fellow survivors out there, the story matters. The story sure matters. No matter how bad it may have happened, your story is unique and true to you, and you should always embrace and accept the story. No matter how painful or how traumatic you may have seemed. So my story, I had my symptoms for 3 years, 3 years. So I remember going to work one day. I used to work at a hospital, funny enough. So I took a taxi to work, and I got off at my entrance, and right as I stepped out of the car, just about walking uphill to where my place of work was located, my bag dropped. I was always fond of carrying my handbag on my left hand. So while I was climbing up to go to work, my bag dropped. That was weird, like, what exactly is happening? That is new and strange. I never had to experience something like that before. But then, I looked behind like most people would do, look behind if anyone watched or saw what happened. And there was no one, so I picked up my bag. I went to work, but then I realized something was off. My left side was seemingly getting weaker, and oftentimes I would feel this funny feeling, which at the time I called it muscle cramps on my left side. It felt weird, yeah, really weird, but then I couldn't really state exactly what it was or what was the reason behind it and what would normally provoke that. But I noticed it became more frequent. I would have this muscle cramp kind of sensation on the left side of my hand, and usually when that happens, I would get like slur speech. At that time, I didn't know the word was slur speech either. I would usually call it my tongue was twisting up. I said to myself, my tongue would twist up, and I noticed I was speaking gibberish. Like I couldn't really pronounce words well as I was supposed to or as I used to. My word would chew up. It was as though I was trying to swallow my tongue. It was really, really weird. Well, I went to my supervisor at the time, was a nurse, because I was a community health worker back then. So I went over to my community health worker supervisor, who was a nurse. I told her, and she was like, it's not too serious, but after I persisted, she referred me to go see the doctor. I went over and met with the doctor, and yeah, so I noticed my left leg was kind of longer than my right leg. I made those complaints. I'm like, I don't know, I feel like my left side is kind of more sensitive compared to my right side. I told the doctor, and what she did was she took a safety pin, a booklet kind of, safety pin booklet. She took that and she scratched my right side, scratched my left side, and it's like, feel any difference? I'm like, no, I feel like my left side was kind of more sensitive than my right side. She was like, okay, put your knees, your both legs together, stand up straight. I stood up straight. She kind of looked at both knees. She said, surely your left side is longer than your right side. Okay, my left side is more sensitive, my left leg is longer. So what? And she said, oh, that's it, your left side is longer than your right side. Okay, I went back home still very concerned about what is happening or what was happening to me at the time. That was late of 2017. Came March 2018, my family and I relocated to the United States. 2018, I was still trying to figure things out, figure out my stay and lots of things, paperwork and all that. Came 2019, I was enrolled to an institution, that's the International Institute of Minnesota, where I was doing my nursing assistant certification at the time. And in the course of my study, a nurse, which was a teacher at the time, a nursing assistant teacher, treated many chronic diseases. And I then decided to say, oh yeah, I think most of these symptoms seem like what I've been experiencing. Well, I went over to my doctor and I told him, I don't know what's happening with me, but I am having headache. So it was like a month before my stroke, so that was 2019, end of 2019. I went over to my doctor. I was having this on and off headache, but that wasn't really my concern. I was more bothered about the fact that I was in and out, in and out, in and out. Sometimes I would have this, like when this slur speech comes or this muscle cramp sensation starts, I won't talk, I would just have to stay mute for like 3 to 5 minutes till that face passes out. So I went over to my doctor. I told him, I'm like, I'm not quite sure what exactly is happening. You know, like, he was suspecting seizures. Yeah, I suspected seizures. Nowhere in heaven or earth or anywhere in existence would I have suspected a stroke at age 21. So I told him, I'm like, I'm not sure. There's usually this feeling on my left side, like it's always on my left side, like from my left side of my head all the way to my toe, to my feet, like my entire left side is always this sensation. It feels like muscle cramp. And then usually it comes, sometimes it comes with me having to speak like gibberish, like I can't really have control over my words. I see my tongue kind of like changing and my words are changing. I'm sounding funny, I told him. He looked at a student doctor who was with him doing my visit, and they both shook their head in accordance. Scary enough for me, my doctor understood what I meant. Well, as America would have it, our specialists are always booked up, like so booked up. So I was able to be scheduled for the next year, which was 2020, January 14. So I was scheduled for an MRI procedure on January 14, 2020. Then came the week of January 13, no, the week before January 13, I realized I was having serious chronic headaches. Like, I know I had never experienced a migraine, but someone would call that a migraine for sure, but this was more like a migraine times 3. I don't know, it felt as though my head was continuously being broke off, like the pain was excruciating, if I would say. But the funny thing is, I only experienced that pain on one side of my head. Like, funny enough, I didn't experience that headache on like the entire head, on my entire head. So the headache was just on my right side, like this excruciating pain just on the right side, like from my skull, from front all the way back, just on my right side. It never even crossed to come over to my left side. Very funny, I know, very funny. So the pain went on and on and on, and mom couldn't hold on no more. She was like, let's go over to the hospital. Let's find out what is happening. I know you have your MRI next week, but let's see what to do. So, well, I was at home for the meantime, still trying to do over-the-counter medications and stuff. If I had known, I would have probably gone in earlier enough. Maybe this wouldn't have been as serious as it did end up. So we came January 12th. The pain was terrible. I think that was a Monday, if I'm getting that right. January 12th, 2020. Mom and I went into the hospital. It was an emergency unit we went into, and as emergency units operated, I'm not sure if it's the same now, which I think it's the same now, but I'm not too sure. So I went over to the Hennepin County Medical Center, HCMC. I went in. So at the emergency center, they had this check-in box where you put in your symptoms and what exactly was happening to you and stuff. So I went in and I needed to check in, and mom had to see that she was waiting for me to put in my symptoms and stuff. Yeah, I did put in my symptoms, I put everything in. Funny enough, remember I told you I did not quite know the name of symptoms. I mean, I gave them my own name, like muscle cramps, gibberish sounding, speaking tune kind of. But miraculously, or should I say funny enough, I went onto the chaos and it felt as though everything, all the symptoms, the right words were there, and for some reason my gut feeling could tell me this is exactly what those words were, or this is exactly what you are feeling. I saw tingling and numbness. I was like, tingling? Yeah, that thing perhaps may not be a muscle cramp sensation after all. It does feel like tingling and feels like numbness, sort of. I checked on that, I checked the cups. And then, oh, slurred speech. I'm like, slurred? Well, yeah, my tongue wraps up. It's like slimy. It's like, I'm like, yeah. Slurred speech makes sense for that word, or for that feeling of that stuff I always get. I take that, check, box check. And then headaches. Oh, yes, headache. Headache was even what brought me in here, not this other stuff. I mean, I've been fine managing this other stuff for the past 3 years. I just wanted the headache to go so bad. Box checked, headache. And then weakness. Of course, I was weak on my left side, or like one-sided weakness. Of course. What is this machine? Some prophet, some miracle working stuff? How come this machine sort of knows everything I'm going through? Well, I don't know. I may either be in big trouble or doing something fun. So I went on and checked the boxes and needed to be checked, and then I went on to take a seat. Shortly after, nurses came running to me. First, they called my mom, since as an African, I would say we have petite body. We are not always as old as we look, or as young as you look, I'll say. So they called my mom because they thought maybe I was a minor. I mean, that's okay. So they called my mom. They were like asking her questions. Do we have stroke in the gene? Is there any form of stroke genetically and all that stuff? Mom gave her answers. Nope, nope, nope. So they came. They did some sort of CT scan on the chest first. Remember in my earlier videos, I did mention that there was stroke in the brain and there was stroke in the heart. There was cardiac stroke and there was neurostroke. So they did some CT scans to check my heart and turns out negative. Nothing to show for it. Oh, but then I was having stroke symptoms. They needed more testing to be sure. I mean, they were sure that was a stroke for sure, but then they needed to be sure before putting me on IV or anything whatsoever. So next thing they did was they did a blood draw at my spine, like right at the back at my spine. So I think they collected some kind of fluid to test for infection to be sure if the stroke was caused by an infection or not, which still turned out negative. Then finally they needed to go do an MRI. Remember my MRI was booked for the next day. So they had to go do an MRI to be sure it was a stroke or not. They started to ask questions. Is there any stroke genetics in your family? Like, have you ever had or experienced anyone die of stroke? Well, my grandpa died really old. We did not have a stroke. My grandma likewise. No, we don't have stroke in our family. There's no sign of stroke in our family and stuff. Everybody was surprised because of stroke as important, but they can't really tell. There's incidents of stroke, but they can't identify stroke. So, first, finally, I had to be put for an emergency MRI brain scan. Which of course I went in for the MRI brain scan. And while I was in, that was around 2 p.m. While I was in for the brain scan, I slept off, like really deep. I slept off because I hadn't slept in my brains due to the chronic pain from my brain. So while in the MRI machine, I slept off. That was from 2 p.m. till around 3 a.m. when I woke up. I woke up. I was in a really dark room. That was my admission room. It was a really dark room. I didn't know exactly what was happening. I woke up. All that mom was there by my side first, and my cousin. I felt first, and I needed to use the restroom. And waking up, my rest I wasn't waking up with me. While I was asking myself what exactly had happened to me, the human brain can think so much in a second. While I was trying to wake up and asking myself questions at the same time, my cousin immediately stopped me. She was like, "Bernise, wait, you need help." In my head, I'm like, "I need help. Girl, I'm not a baby, I'm an adult. I can just wake up and use the restroom." And then the news came. You just had a stroke. You need help, you just had a stroke. I fell back into bed. I felt disappointed. I felt betrayed. I felt really bad. I thought, why? All I could ask was, God, why, God, why, God, why? But looking back, I would say I'm more grateful. Not for the fact that I had a stroke entirely, but for the fact that I've grown. I've learned things I probably would not have been willing to learn not for the fact that I had a stroke. I mean, there is a saying that says, when God puts you at the edge of a cliff, trust Him fully, because only two things are bound to happen. It's either going to catch you when you fall, or He'll teach you how to fly. And looking back at 2020, from 2020 to now, I've seen myself soaring up high. God has been faithful. God is faithful. He's always faithful. So I would like to hear your stories. Comment it down in the comment section. Let me hear how you had a stroke, how your loved one had a stroke, or how perhaps you had a difficult chronic ailment, and how you're managing, and how you're growing, and how it's continuing to make you stronger. And if you like my story and you find my story as a source of inspiration, please click on the like button, comment. I would like to see your comments, and share this video because it may help someone. Share it to someone, to share to someone, to share to someone. This video may be an inspiration for someone. This video may save a life because it has the symptoms. You can inspire someone to not give up on themselves. Remember, for as long as there's life, there always is hope.